money. Tuesday, how to make money, save money, invest money, budget money, different ways to look at money. We were just talking about a two-part episode about cybersecurity, about how to protect your money, because when you allow yourself to put yourself too far into social media and the internet, hackers can hack you in a lot of different ways, right? So, oh, here's a thing, and I know a lot of people didn't know about it because I just found out about it recently. So, and this is going to really mess up Google. This is going to really mess up Google Map. But I'm going to tell you this real quick. Now, if you go into Google Map, put your address into Google Map, and then I think there's like these three buttons on the side that you click, and there's like a little drop down to ask if there's any problems with the photo. You click, that's my house. And then all you got to do is show proof that it is your house. And they will blur the house out from every perceivable direction. So when somebody Googles your address, it's not going to show up. Now, that doesn't help all of the real estate investment platforms that has probably the interior of your house shown if you bought the house after the internet was created. But, you know, if your daddy been staying in the house since before 2009 and it's never been listed before, the outside of the house is listed. And whenever the Google vehicle passed by, whatever vehicles were in the yard, whoever was standing outside when the car passed by, all that is visible, right? So one of the things I actually did, cover my license plate for anything that's facing the street, but also blurred out the house so nobody can pass by. And I did, and they actually verified. I think within 72 hours, they had then blocked out the address for every angle. I was like, yo, this shit really does work. It takes you off of the internet in ways where you can't go completely off grid, because we have become dependent upon technology to a magnitude where you just can't be 100% off the grid. But you can damn sure be like 80 or 90% off the grid, where like there's a very, very small footprint of you. And with the billions and billions of people continuously updating shit on the internet, if somebody was to do a deep dive, they might find you. If they were to pay a private investigator thousands of dollars, they might find you. But the average Joe Schmo wouldn't be able to just Google you and just scoop you up and be like, boom, I got it. Because you couldn't even, you can't even put my name into the Google search bar and even get this podcast up here. I'm so far off the grid, right? But a lot of you can put your own name into the Google search and all of your social media handles will show up. Photos of you from those social media handles will show up in the image section. Your college that you graduated from, any high school events that you were involved in, and some of y'all arrest records. This is the stuff that employers be looking at when you be trying to change jobs. So since you don't want to spend thousands upon thousands of dollars paying those data individuals to scrub the internet, you can scrub it yourself by deliberately taking down anything that could compromise who you are. Because I hope the Russians or the KGB don't find me. But see, the Russians and the KGB, you ain't got to really worry about them. The people that you really got to worry about is the IRS and friends and family members that want to put their hands in your pocket. That's the people that you got to worry about. You know, because whatever the tax man don't tax you on, the people in your inner circle that realize that you got shit is going to treat you differently because you're not giving your shit to them without them having to do anything to earn it. So by taking yourself, because you got to realize like 90+% of crimes, especially violent crimes, typically between two people who know each other. There's a small percentage of like road ragers and shit to that effect that are like random, you've got to fuck with me in order for me to fuck you up kind of situations. But the majority of I'm going to fuck that dude up, there's a vendetta involved. The whole reason why criminal investigations is based off of opportunity and motive and means is because what motivated me to fuck you up? I had to know you some kind of way. I had to affiliate with you in some kind of way in order for me to decide to target you, because this wasn't an accident. You were targeted, right? What did I use to get that done? And where was I to have the opportunity to perform that? That's why those three criteria are sitting there. So it's not the KGB and Russia that you got to worry about. It's your best friend from high school. It's your homeboy that's almost like a brother to you. It's your girlfriend that you behave like that's your baby mama, but she got a dude on the side. It could be an auntie, an uncle, a father, a grandmother. It could be your kids. Anybody that's got direct access to fucking you over, that's what this information is for, is to prevent those people. Because just think about this. When one of these young bucks run off with a stolen gun and go and do a violent crime, right? Whose gun they stole? A family member's, right? When your kids, even when we was young in the 80s and 90s, when we wanted to impress a girl, we ain't had that much money on allowance or something like that. A lot of kids used to take their mama jewelry and give it to their girl. Your jewelry started coming up missing in the house. You got sons, that probably went to the chick down the street, right? So the people that will defraud you the fastest is family members, but there are people all over the world that can defraud you. So taking yourself off of the internet allows for you to prevent from being defrauded by strangers while not broadcasting to your social network where they can defraud you from your inner circle. Because everybody on your friends list, every time you update your social media status, every time you take a screenshot of the new car that you bought, take a screenshot of wads, caps that you have in your pockets, in the back seat of your car, and all this, that, and the other, all the pistols you got. When you start showing videos of how you store things, pack things, like y'all see those videos of the hidden trap doors in the houses, and that's what these motherfuckers are gonna be looking for when it comes to this address. I've seen all the videos. Your house is decked out like 007, but you just showed me how all of this stuff works. So now I can go to your house and I can infiltrate, right? Go straight to the safe and get the Fabergé. Steven said, when they see that beat up Toyota with the paint falling off, they don't think he got it. Well, unless they know who you are. So a stranger will look at you with an old school beat up. Special shout out to Jamal. How you doing, Jamal? A stranger will look at you with an old school beat up jalopy and assume you ain't got shit. Females who don't know who you are will assume that you broke as fuck. But when you're posting that you got shit, you could be driving a 1986 Toyota Corolla. But if they know that you got a 200-inch flat screen TV and diamonds and all the stuff in the house and all of whatever you got going on at your place, right? Then they got a reason to go. Hey, you got to go over there with that old school Toyota and knock them off. That's how it is. He says, 811, come on in. Jamal says, shout out to everybody in the chat room. So I appreciate you, Jamal. So this is one of the reasons why we talk to you guys about this. Now, after we cover all of this stuff, then on Wednesdays, we give you guys information about different countries around the world y'all can invest in. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we give you guys information about social improvement, personal development, relationship topics, socialization, negotiations, building your brand. And then we take it over to the workforce and start talking about your raises, your promotions, your retirement, forced retirement, severance packages, and then working on your 20 to 30 year plan, because you got to figure out where you want to be at in life over the next 20 to 30 years. And you got to figure out what all it takes for you to get to where you want to be at, what you got to do to get there, and then start putting one step at a time, every day, every week, the effort necessary to make it to where you want to be at in the next 20 or 30 years. There's no reason why you should be living a life today with it ain't always going to be like this. I'm not always going to be here forever, but you're not putting one step towards being something else somewhere else. That just doesn't make any sense. Now, in tonight's show, we're supposed to be talking about how haters are secretly jealous of you, Glow, about how, haters are going to hate. And the people that really are jealous and envious of your success, for one reason, they know that they could have been just as successful, if not more, but they didn't apply themselves. Two, they missed out on an opportunity that both of y'all knew about, and they're just envious of the fact that you took advantage of that opportunity. Or three, people just don't want to see other people succeed. They got all these things going on. So we're going to be talking about that today. And for those of you that's got something y'all want to throw in there, sprinkle some salt into the mix, by all means, y'all can throw some comments into the comments section. We can review this information and kind of, come to an adjustment. That's a good idea. Don't start tomorrow, start today for retirement. Shit, it should have started last week. But you are correct. Don't wait until next time. You want to start today. He says, I have a question. Why do haters always appear during the time of success? Okay, well, a lot of people hold their value based on a collective census. I am the most successful person in my network or most successful person in my area because everybody else is not doing as good as I am. It is a comparative observation of success. Now, when you are down and out, when you're not doing as good as they are, they're proud of themselves because even though they're not applying themselves to do better or be better, they are currently living a less stressful lifestyle than you are. They are currently living a more lavish lifestyle than you are. They're currently putting in less effort into life than you are. And they feel good about the fact that they don't feel as bad about their life as you do. However, when the tables turn and you are now doing better than the people around you, meaning you have less stress on your plate, you're fixing your life, you're improving your credit score, you're investing in yourself, you're building savings, emergency funds, vacations. You went from an old school car to a more modernized car. You probably rebuilt the one that you had so that it's not broke no more. You didn't did all kind of better things for yourself, got upgraded, your tires, started getting your hair done, everything like that. They start seeing your improvements in yourself in your life. Now, in order for them to feel good, because it's a self-perceived entitlement that I'm better than everybody else, but that only exists in the mindset like Vegeta. I am only the greatest of my kind if Kakarot's not here. I'm only the greatest of my kind if the most successful person in my network isn't here. You know, I'm driving a Phantom until the Phantom pull up. The false perception that I am the cream of the crop, that I am the best, because I plateaued. I don't want to do anything better, but I'm going to only be a big fish in a small pond. Don't let me fall into a big ocean. Find out I'm the smallest fish in the area, right? So that's one of the reasons why people are going to hate on your way up. They heckle the podcast. They're gonna troll and try you because one of the things that people who are down will do, it's easier for me to tear you down than it is for me to build myself up to your level. I don't need to apply myself to being successful. But if I want to be unemployed and I want you to be unemployed too, then I'll get you fired off your job. If I'm single and I want you to be single too, I'll get you to break up with your girl. If I, you know what I mean? If I'm in and out of jail and I want you in and out of jail too, I'm gonna get you arrested right alongside me. But if you are successful and I want to be as successful than you, then that means I gotta try harder. And that's gonna be one of the reasons why more haters come out of the woodwork during your time of success than during the time of your failures. Because they're not gonna come up and be like, oh ha ha, you're failing. No, of course not. They're going to give you a level of pity that is self-soothing to them, that I'm able to show sympathy and mercy to this person. But it's not because I value the person. It's because these people it's an egotistical thing. I'm helping you for my ego, right? Which is completely different from I'm helping you because you need it. I'm helping you because I can. Michael says, I love seeing people's success as they are not as successful as me. And that's going to be the other light of vanity and jealousy, is because you're proud of everybody's success until they start becoming more successful than you. And then some people start getting salty about that. Steven says, haters hate when you're up and down. That's true. Because if you were successful and you fell off, now's the time to rub it in. He said, have you seen Dave Chappelle's skit, Haters Ball? Yeah, I did. I also seen the other one when he was blind. What is your opinion on those haters that envy you for the smallest things that you get, even when they are wealthier and have better lives than you are? Well, first of all, the only reason why people know about the smaller things that you get in life is because you're bragging and boasting about it. So people are going to be jealous and envious of you because you are constantly promoting the things that you get. The lifestyle creep that people experience, we're going to be talking about that on the show today, based off of the keeping up with the Joneses mentality, the charging it to the Underhills mentality, where people believe that in order for me to consider myself as successful as you, I have to make the same purchases as you. I have to take the same trips as you. I have to live the same lifestyle as you for me to say that I'm on the same level as you. And that's not true, because your lifestyle is your lifestyle and my lifestyle is my lifestyle. Now, there are certain areas of your lifestyle that is different than my lifestyle. And that's why, even if they're wealthier than I am, they might still find themselves envious of me, because I'm humble in my ability to have what I need, where I don't have more frustration, more stress, and more obligation on my plate. I might have a less stressful life with less income, where the other individual might have more stress on their life with more income, right? Because understand that there's a difference in the definitions of true wealth. You have the financial success, where you have more money than what you have bills and stuff. And then you have the lifestyle success, where you have no stress, no frustration, and you have a self-sustainable income, where you live within your means. You have what you need, and you don't want much more than that. You can still attain more than that, because you're making more than what you need, but you don't want more than what you need to the degree where you have to make even more to meet your standards. More often than not, you have a people that make a certain quantity of money, but they want to live a lifestyle above that money. And if they can't afford to do that, they're always going to be jealous of the guy who is living that lifestyle, even if that person makes less money. He says they're envious of your success. Well, they'll be envious of your lifestyle, because I mean, take for example, you can have a multimillionaire that's married to a girl to get on his damn nerves. You could have two girlfriends that are working together to build you an empire. Y'all, the three of y'all, can make a third of the money as the first guy. But because his girl is tearing him down and turning his kingdom into a battlefield, and the two girls in your house is turning your kingdom into a paradise, he will be jealous of the lifestyle that you live, not the money that you have in your pocket, because you have a team of people working together for your success, and he has somebody that is holding him back and weighing him down and making him feel bad about every decision that he makes. So it's not always the fact that money defines wealth. Now, if you've got more money than you got bills, you've got more decisions that you can make. But when you still have stress and frustration on your plate, you still don't have the lifestyle that you would really be looking for, which is the freedom from the financial responsibility, because everything is automated, right? He says they know to say no to lifestyle creep. Don't keep up with the Joneses. They might be running the credit card up. Who knows? Oh, you already know they're running the credit card up. They're running up the credit card. They're taking out loans. They borrow money from their rich family members. They're getting inheritances that they didn't have to work for, and they're blowing that money. They're winning scratch offs after years of wasting money on scratch offs, and then they're blowing that money. You know, they do what they got to do to get their money on a tax return, and then they're blowing that money. But at no point in time do they have a dollar to last them. If their job closed down because of the war, they're not going to have enough money to last them till summer. And we're already like 2 weeks away from June. They live from paycheck to paycheck, and anything more than that, they waste on the lifestyle that they live. And that's the reason why they can live that lifestyle, is because they have no responsibility and no foresight for the future. So they're not prepared for what happens if I don't have a job next week. They're not prepared for what if I don't have the physical condition to do the job that I'm doing this week. They're not prepared for those people who are getting paid for their looks. What happens when my looks are no longer here and they want somebody younger, tighter, less wrinkles? What happens if I get into an injury and mess up my features and now I got scars and they're not looking for scars? You know, what happens, right? You know, in that situation, your ass ain't making the money that you was making. But since you did not prepare for that, you don't have the money to offset that. When we say money for a rainy day, it's not just money for when it rains outside. The money for a rainy day phrase comes from the dynamic of you're not making money every day. There are going to be days where the situation is not in your favor. And on those days, you're supposed to have money left over to cover the days that you're not fruitful in the ability to create wealth. He said, give me more time. Is it for this reason that rich people mostly associate with each other? Rich people associate with other rich people because rich people know how to make money, save money, and invest money. Rich people don't associate with poor people as often because poor people are always looking for a handout. Which, if a billionaire, and I talked about this before, if say Donald Trump's $4+ billion, we have 386 million people in America. If Donald Trump gave $1 million to each one of the Americans that are not in the top 1%, he would still be giving about 300 to 350 million people $1 million, which is close to $3.5 billion, something to that effect, if I'm doing the numbers right. And if he was to do that, each person has $1 million. Each person has $1 million, right? Or 100,000, depending on how the zeros work out. Because I'm doing the math off the top of my head, so don't quote me on the specifics. If he gave everybody the same quantity of money out of 385 million people, the money would get spent, and then they would come back and ask for more. That's the problem. Everybody would still be broke. That's right. Everybody would still be broke. So when a millionaire or a billionaire or a rich person of any kind, one person that's not wealthy in their collective, that person is usually treated as a charity case or an apprentice. An apprentice meaning that you have the drive to be just as successful as I am, and I'm going to show you the ropes, because one of the things that wealthy does is wealthy passes knowledge on, because teaching a man to fish is more valuable to the wealthy than giving a man a fish, specifically because if I can teach you how to be financially successful, then I have a second or third or fifth or eighth person that I can invest in. You're going to do the work. And now that you have that drive to make yourself rich, I'll give you some money that you're going to pay me back with interest, and I don't have to do shit. Right? So wealthy is always looking for opportunities. Broke people are looking for entertainment. And as a result, if you're trying to make yourself more successful, you're not going to want to be at the next block party where you always have to buy two cases, 3 cases of beer and help everybody else get fucked up, knowing that everybody's got to go to work in the morning. They're going to feel like shit because they was drunk all night. You know, you're not, if you're trying to make yourself financially successful, you're not going to be entertaining those individuals that makes bad financial decisions. And that's one of the reasons why you're going to see more wealthy people involved with more wealthy people. Also, on top of that, you're going to look at social status, and you're also going to be looking at criminal backgrounds. You are the company that you keep. So if you hang around too many broke people, people are going to assume that you're broke, which means that they're not going to involve you in the multi-million-dollar investment deals, because they look at you before they look at your wallet and assume that you can't afford this deal anyway, right? Which is one of the reasons why Rolex can turn you away, even though all their watches are for sale, because the occasional person that's willing to spend $53 million on a watch gives them more money on one item than they need all year. So it doesn't matter if they turn away everybody else that they don't want to wear their product. What matters is the people who do come and get the product are willing to walk in and say, I want that one, and not ask how much. That's right. Jamal says, FX Trader has a point. Check the rich people on the lottery tickets whenever it reaches $1 billion. You will get a rich person that will spend tens of millions of dollars just to get the right ticket and hit that $1 billion jackpot. So if they spend $30 or $40 to win $1 billion, it's nothing for them. Well, true, but when you look at a billionaire, they might spend $5 million to win $1 billion lottery ticket. That's an investment, because they're going to get or like you said, yeah, 30 to $40 million to win that $5 billion jackpot. Yeah, they'll do that. They'll do that. Very few started off poor, ended up rich, and stayed rich after they won a lottery. Most poor-minded people, they get a bunch of money and they waste it. So you can bet the smartest person in the group, or you can be the smartest person in the group, but without money, you'll never be heard. He said that before. Yeah, that's true. That is true. You can be the smartest person in the group because money talks. And one of the things you find out is that there's very few excessively intelligent, wealthy individuals. More often than not, their money talks for them, and they have the smartest people around them on their payroll to make the decisions for them. So all they have to decide on is lifestyle. Rolex watches, better to melt them. Gold prices are high enough. Millionaires don't pay the lottery. Well, you and I know that, Michael, but just hypothetically, it would be the thing. Well, first of all, millionaires don't have to pay the lottery because they're millionaires. But if you look at the opportunity, it would be to get that billion. They would throw it down and get more back than what they put in. That would be the logic behind it. I don't play the lottery, but if I did come into some big money, I would be that millionaire that still mows his own lawn. I'm not mowing my own lawn, but I would invest enough money into a brokerage account so that my brokerage account can pay my lawn care guy so that I don't have to mow my own lawn. Michael, they do invest in when they play to hit that billion or 2 billion or whatever. Oh, okay. So there are some situations where some less savvy, more risky individuals that have millions will throw down on lottery tickets and potentially hit those billions. And out of the ones that do that, they do turn back and get more money back off of it somewhere than what they did when he went down. I can see that, but the yeah, I'm not gonna I'm not cutting my own grass, bro. I walked out there yesterday and I was like, huh, I wonder how I'm going to get this lawn guy to water the yard and how that's going to impact my water bill because I'm not doing it. How often per month do I need to waste a couple gallons of water onto the yard to make my grass grow? Or just throw some fertilizer down and just let the rain get it. I don't know. $1 for a possible billion. That's the thought process, but it's $1 wasted because the probability of 1 in like 7 billion or 1 versus 80 billion to win, right? The odds are so far stacked against you that you'd have to buy too many tickets in order to turn a profit for the average person. The rich people know how to invest and when to invest and how to invest because they know that they will come out as winners regardless of the outcome. Yes, and when a high financial status individual has the capabilities to put their money down on a gamble where the odds of success is based on them buying every opportunity. If the cost to buy in is less than the payout, they'll buy the pot. It's like going all in on a game of Texas Hold'em when you have 3 times more than everybody at the table combined. It's easy to buy the pot because nobody else can call. They get a hose and one of those back and forth sprinkler stream things. That's what I was considering too. That's exactly what I was considering. I would have to get a longer hose though, but that's what I was considering. Getting one of those things that goes back and forth and just kind of gets the majority of the yard. But I haven't gotten that far yet because I know I'm going to be out there watering the yard. If you don't play, you won't ever have a chance. Yeah, but I'm not playing. I don't need that chance. Casinos are not built on winners. Of course not. Casinos are made 60% success rate, but not 60% profitability. You go in there with whatever you're going in there with, you're walking out with far less than what you walked in with. And sometimes you're walking out owing the money, right? That's just a thing. But let's go ahead and dive in on today's topic because you know that everybody tells you that, they're jealous, right? Don't pay attention to them. They're jealous, right? The second that you guys start to glow, the second that you start to succeed, the haters just crawl out of the woodwork like roaches, right? And the advice is always the same thing, isn't it? Oh, don't worry about them. They're just jealous. I mean, it's meant to be comforting. And it's going to be a simple band-aid for the sting of a backhanded comment that subtly nubs from a friend where that the outright venom that you see in the comment section is really seeping into your observations, and it really pisses everybody off when they experience this, right? He says, I read some of quotes and notes from a rich man named Robert Kozak that said, if you want to live rich, you must learn the system to beat the system and be a statistic, not be a statistic. What's today's topic? Oh, today's topic was about haters hating. That's why we kind of got on the side topic. Because as soon as I introduced what the topic was, like people started talking on it. James knows it. Yes. I can agree with that to a degree. You must learn the system to beat the system and not be a statistic. I have talked about that on some level, that to not be a statistic in the system, to know what the system is and navigate around the system. I don't believe that you should be trying to beat the system. And from a minority standpoint, the reason why I say that you shouldn't be trying to beat the system, because the system wasn't designed for you. Me and my ancestors came here on a ship, lied to, told that we was gonna get a free Caribbean cruise, and when we got here, it was not free. Not to mention, we rode all the way here, so it wasn't a cruise. But when we got here, we were property. So since we were property, all the laws and rules and everything that was created wasn't created for us. We were born into it. First, second, third, fifth, eighth, 10th generation minorities. So you learn how the system is, and you don't learn how to play the game so that you can play the game and win it. You learn what the game is so that you can avoid the pitfalls of playing the game. A lot of people who know what the speed limits are on the interstate only know what the speed limits are on the interstate so that they can know how fast they can go before they get a ticket. A lot of people pay attention to the accessibility of the roadside of the interstate so that they can determine that a cop couldn't park here if they wanted to. I can speed in this area. But we're not learning the laws of the road so that we don't get a ticket. We're learning the ability to navigate around the fact that we don't want to get tickets. It's going to be the same thing with making money. You want to know where the pitfalls are in the system so that you don't lose out on your investment opportunities while trying to be in the system. He said, sorry, Michael, we went from haters to success. That's what he's doing on a show on a regular basis. We go from haters to success. But rules are changed all the time. Rules are not necessarily changed, because ultimately in society, we create an outline of expectations. We call those outlines of expectations rules. And then that becomes the traditional performance. And then we do not like change. So since we do not like change, we refuse to accept new ideas and new outcomes from new ideas because we don't like doing things differently. That's the way it's always been. That's the way we should always keep doing it. And it worked in the past. Even if it's not working for other people now, it was working for me in the past. And that's why people don't like change, and they consider those rules. Now, truth of the matter is, there's no true rules to investments. There's no true rules to savings. There's no true rules to budgeting. I mean, there's a right and wrong as far as what the law says that you can and cannot do. And when they change the laws to prohibit exploitation of the laws, when there were loopholes in the laws, because when the laws were originally created, nobody expected people to do the stuff that people are doing these days. Technology didn't exist like this back in the day. So they have to change the laws to adhere to the current dynamic of our environments. But the as far as making yourself successful, there's a don't break the law while you're doing it expectation, and that's pretty much it. But it's an expectation, it's not a rule. He said that Xander talked about this issue before. Do not associate with people who don't want to better themselves. Exactly. See, you know that FX Trader been watching the show forever. Those speed limits are suggestions. Actually, you're right. Fact of the matter is, people treat those as actual law. They're not laws. You get a citation, which is a violation of movement, but it's not the breaking of an actual law. But they're going to call it a law. It's a suggested speed for the expectation for safety. The breaking of the law is when you're operating the vehicle in a dangerous fashion that could cause harm to other people, whether you are operating the vehicle recklessly or operating the vehicle carelessly. Recklessly means that you could have caused an accident, but you didn't. Reckless. Operating the vehicle carelessly means that you're irresponsible about the operation of the vehicle, even if you don't cause a crash. And that is a crime. So, yes, the speed is a suggestion. But the suggestion is to not go more than 5 miles over the speed limit. 11 miles over the speed limit will get you a ticket. Yes, of course. Your ancestors came to build and construct. You African Americans have rich history and honorable heritage because you have a logic of making honest livings. We started with the logic of making honest livings, and then all of us who experienced the ghetto learned how to make dishonest livings and be lazy and trifling about our shit. And that's why we have to break the stereotypes, because the average minority person doesn't carry themselves with the level of sophistication as the old school sophisticated minorities that built what was called the Black Wall Street back in the day, when you had multimillionaire minorities fresh out of slavery. Nowadays, they're all about irresponsible behavior that you see on TikTok. Martin Luther King was one of those big examples. You're right. Do you know if Michael Luther King is still alive? All Americans will have be living rich and healthy and happy lives. I would disagree with that. His logic does go very far. And Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and Huey P. Newton all had great philosophies, but the average minority didn't follow it. Take, for example, Malcolm X was a firm believer of knowing the laws so that you can utilize them in the correct way to protect yourself. Huey P. Newton, the Black Panthers, and the Crips and the Bloods back in the day when they were policing their own neighborhoods. That's where Neighborhood Watch first came out back in the day. Instead of shooting at your op with a Glock switch at a traffic light just because they wore color different than your color, the red side was working on one side of the country, the blue side was working on the other side of the country, and those guys were just keeping their city safe. It was a group of people that were not law enforcement that was keeping their city safe. Nowadays, the gangs are keeping the city safe. The gangs are the reason why the city is not safe. Martin Luther King would not have fixed that. The logic of the ancestors that are not teaching the kids to behave responsibly is what would have fixed that, right? Since Malcolm X was talking about every American should have a gun right now. Every American should have at least 2 guns for every person that lives in a house. If the minority population followed the teachings of Malcolm X, specifically because if you know how to protect yourself, if you know how to follow the laws, if you know how to respectfully communicate with other individuals, when you are standing in a situation in an oppressed position with local law enforcement, if everybody in the conversation has a gun, we're all talking to each other with respect, because nobody wants to get shot. When half of the group doesn't have guns, the half of the group that has guns talks with the utmost disrespect, because what are you going to do? Catch a bullet? Places like Israel, where everybody has an assault rifle, it's not considered technically as safe as America by dynamic with all of the trafficking and kidnapping and bombs and everything to that effect. But when you think about the type of crime that they have over there, like, the average person is not robbing nobody. The average person ain't stealing nobody's car, because who want to catch 40 bullets to snatch a purse? Everybody in the area's got an assault rifle, and if one person starts shooting, everybody's gonna start shooting. So, I mean, in that dynamic, look, take Texas for example. Take Texas for example. There's certain cities in Texas, it is a law that you must have a firearm after the age of 18. Those cities have less gun violence than every other city in America that has more gun restrictions that doesn't allow you to have all those guns. So back to Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King's dream of equality or somewhat reasonable uniformity, where minorities and non-minorities can intermingle with one another and start becoming a better population, his dream came true. We got mixed breed babies every day. We have Black people in big businesses hiring white people, giving them an opportunity, and vice versa. But he taught or tried to teach the average African American person to not be heathenistic, so that we can break that stereotype of being low class, low grade heathens, so that when the population watches the heathens perform, they can clearly see it ain't us. So the World Star moments, the Waffle House batches, those everybody in the street fighting and people with the video camera recording all over the place videos. The low grade, low class individuals that are caught up in those videos, typically minorities, were not taught what they should have been taught, because if they were, if Martin Luther King's teaching was in their household, then them kids would not be fighting in the street. Their parents would not be fighting in the street. Their parents wouldn't be encouraging the kids to fight in the street. We would be able to communicate on how to resolve whatever disagreement that we have. We would legit be like Kevin Gates, having a sit down where we would literally sit somewhere and talk about how this bullshit gonna get resolved so that we don't have to bust each other's ass. You understand? That would have been the teachings of Martin Luther King if we were gonna take the hand in hand and all of us come together and thrive, all of us work together to succeed. Yes, if poor people stopped doing stupid stuff, we would no longer have a poor class. It would be a less rich class, but we would no longer have a poor class. We would have like a financial standing like Dubai, where everybody would be wealthy. But even Dubai got people who flee the country for bankruptcy, because in Dubai, it is a crime to not pay your debt. In America, who gives a fuck? Staple it to my credit, right? Big difference. Dinner and a show at Waffle House, right? But low class, low grade behavior patterns. And that's going to be another reason why wealthy individuals do not intermingle with low class, low grade individuals. Think about this. Think about this. Remember Will Smith when he slapped the shit out of your boy? Notice, out of the history of the Emmys, out of the history of the Grammys, out of the history of every major event with excessively wealthy individuals in it, the only time any type of physical altercation has ever been documented in history that I have come to find has been when a minority was involved in that situation. Take, for example, when Little Kim threatened the safety of somebody on stage. Never had a non-minority do that. He's got T9, bro. He was talking about Martin Luther King. I know what he was talking about. No, the slap wasn't warranted. No, his G.I. Jane looking ass wife was looking just like that. At the end of the day, bro, dude could have just said, hey, I understand that you're making a joke, but you're starting to upset my wife. Can you cut the jokes out? That's all he had to do, bro. He didn't have to. He could have stood up. He could have walked over to the man. He could have put his hand over the mic and whispered in his ear, you're starting to upset my wife. Can you please stop? And then went and set that down. And the dude could have changed his whole platform. You understand? There is a right and wrong way that happened. He didn't have to go all the way over there and beat the shit out of the dude or slap the taste out of the man or nothing like that. But low grade, low class behavior. He went over there, he did that. He could have without getting out of his chair. He could have, while the camera's not on him, he could just some stuff like that, just to hey, no, stop it. And dude would have looked at him like, all right, and cut it out. Right? But he didn't do anything. He let it continue until his wife got upset about it. Not everybody can handle being roasted, but that's what celebrities do. They roast each other. Right? Is it Michael mistake keyboard sometimes misspelling? Yeah, I know that it happens all the time, bro. That slap said back people back. I think it set us back 100 years, bro. I think that slap put us all the way back into the slave days. He from Philly. This can't be helped. No, it can be helped. I will never give a bad decision validation by saying you came from a specific city or state or ethnic group, and that's why you validly should not be held responsible for your stupid decision. If there was a better way to resolve that situation and you chose not to do that. At the end of the day, your heritage got nothing to do with that bad choice. You just made a bad choice. And you should accept whatever consequences that come to you. But since he got money, no consequences came from that slap. It was a public spectacle. He makes more money than most of the people that's out there. And the dude that got slapped was at the bottom of the totem pole. So it's not like dude wasn't going to be able to do Bad Boys 4 because he slapped the taste out of your boy's mouth. But at the end of the day, the slap could have been avoided, right? I would have laughed and said nothing. Would take care of it after the show. That would have been another way to do it. That would have been another way to do it. I could have asked my wife, "Hey, let's go to the bathroom." We could have exited out of the show during the time that he was saying what he was saying. We could have removed ourselves from the building. He didn't have to do what he did. He chose to. So I'm not going to give him any slack on that. Now back to the main topic because we went down yet another rabbit hole. Uh, what if I told you guys that um, people telling you don't worry about it because they're jealous is only half the story? What if jealousy is just a surface level word for much deeper, more primal emotions that people don't want to admit they're feeling? Because a lot of the times we just dismiss the inner feelings and only pay attention to surface behavior. Your success doesn't have to make them envious. It doesn't just make them want what you have. No, it's just so much more deeper than that. Your success, your glow, your decision to become more, it terrifies them in a lot of situations. Oh yeah, him and his wife boycotted. Yeah, but walking out of the show while he was doing that, that would have been a silent protest. I don't want to be talked about like this. I'm out. Right? Especially since her situation was a health related situation. He was laughing about her not having hair. She had to shave off her hair because of something that was happening with her health or whatever. And she was proud enough to do it without wearing a wig. Like a lot of the women who have natural hair that doesn't have to wear wigs, they hide their hair with wigs because they're not happy with their hair texture or color or whatever the case may be. The fact is that they could have just left, whatever. He says, "Why does your success terrify haters? In what way?" Uh, well, today we're going to dismantle that terror. We're going to break down the real psychological reasons that your growth triggers such a gut level fear in other people. And more importantly, we're going to see how their reactions is the clear signs that you are on the exact right path. So this isn't about learning to deal with the haters, because I've talked to you guys about haters before and I was like, let the haters hate. This is actually about understanding their fear so deeply that their noise becomes nothing more than the soundtrack to your own evolution. He said, doesn't she play G.I. Jane? She did. That's what your boy was making jokes about. Her playing G.I. Jane had nothing to do with her having a crystal ball for a head. But her playing G.I. Jane was him making jokes about how she was surviving her health condition, and she was so strong that she wasn't just G.I. Jane in the movie, she was G.I. Jane in life. He was cracking jokes, but at the end of the day, he was commending this woman for fighting a good fight for what she was going through, but she took it the wrong way. Will Smith got offended by it, and he went slap the taste out of the man's mouth. At the end of the day, like I said, all your boy had to do was just walk up to the stage and just whisper in the man's ear, "You're starting to upset my wife. Can you please change the subject?" And just went and sat back down. Dude could have whispered back to him, I'm sorry, give her my condolences. I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm gonna talk about something else. I'll even cut my skit short so that I can talk about something else, right? And he would thank you, pat him on the shoulder, and go and sit back down, and that would have been it. It could have been different. That's what I'm trying to say. Now, I want you guys to think back to a specific moment that you were proud of. Maybe you got a promotion, lost 20 pounds. Maybe you finally launched that business, posted your first video, or drew a line in the sand in a relationship that had been draining you for years. You felt that spark, that surge of I actually did it, right? And you shared it with a friend, a family member, shared it on social media. You were expecting high fives, you were expecting encouragement, a simple, that's amazing. That's all you were looking for. But instead, you got critics, or worse, the subtle jabs. Must be nice to have all that free time, or the concern troll. Are you sure you're not overdoing it? Don't you want to burn out, or you don't want to burn out, right? Something to that effect. Or the classic minimizer. Oh, that's cool. My cousin's friend did that, but they actually got the bigger promotion, right? Instantly, that balloon of pride that you were holding just deflates. A pinprick of doubt slips in. Was it not a big deal? Am I being angry, arrogant? Uh, should I have just kept my situation to myself? First, I'm going to tell you, you probably should have kept your situation to yourself. But that feeling, that confusion, that sting, that's what we're talking about. The world tells you to just brush it off as jealousy, but that advice feels hollow, doesn't it? It doesn't explain the sick feeling in your stomach or why the jab from someone you thought was on your team hurts so much more than one from a random stranger. It's because it isn't just jealousy, it is fear. And their fear is trying to light a fire under your own. So let's start by tearing down the old story. The idea that haters are simply jealous isn't totally wrong, but it's dangerously incomplete. It's like saying a hurricane is just a little wind. You're missing the scale, the structure, and the destructive power of what's really going on around you. Jealousy, or more accurately, envy, is definitively part of the cocktail. Envy is wanting what someone else has. Your success absolutely triggers that. You get the new car, the fit body, the happy relationship, the thriving business, and someone else looks at their life and feels a painful sense of less than. As we were talking about earlier, it's a basic human comparison game. We're sort of wired to see where we stack up in society. Your raise can make someone else feel like they've dropped, but envy alone doesn't create a hater. Envy can actually be a powerful motivator. A healthy person might feel the pain of envy and think, wow, their success shows me what's possible. What can I learn from them? How can I apply that to my own life? They turn that envy into inspiration. The hater is going to be different. Is that I've learned to minimize my success and not tell people what I'm doing. Now, a lot of the times, I don't really believe that we should hide everything that we do in our lives, but I do believe that we should not broadcast every single success that we have in life. And the reason why I believe that we shouldn't broadcast this is because the more somebody else knows that we have, the more that somebody else is able to take from us. Most of us can remember a time in our lives where we did stuff that we probably would not do today. And some of the people that are still in our lives today know about that. We have developed a level of pride and ego that our past self is embarrassing. If the people that we keep in our network, that we made bad choices when we made friends when we were growing up because we didn't know any better, gets jealous enough, envy enough, bitter enough, that person can take our past self and broadcast it to the society and devalue us, knock us down a couple of pegs because they don't want us to shine so bright. Now, I understand you shouldn't have to minimize your success, but you also shouldn't have to brag about it. If you got a promotion and now you're not going to be as available as you used to be because now you have to spend more time on a job, you went from 40 hours a week to 65. You're able to tell the people that it impacts hey, I'm not going to be around as much because I got a promotion on my job. However, posting up on social media, I got the promotion, $15,000 a year bonus, 3-week vacation, 45 days of PTO time, blah, 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 blah. That part, I don't think we should be doing. You were able to tell mom and dad, brother and sister, wife, husband, kids, hey, things are changing in our life because things are impacting my abilities to perform at work. So I got a raise, I got a promotion. I might have gotten a raise to a position that requires us to move. Yes. So I'm going to tell the people that that impacts, right? But you also have to treat your success the same way the military treats their deployment. I can't tell you where I'm going, but I can tell you that I'm leaving. I can't tell you how long I'm going to be there, but I will come and see you when I get back. If I get a Medal of Honor, I might send you that Medal of Honor, but I'm not going to tell you when I got it, how I got it, or what I did to get it. You understand the difference between need to know and exploitation, self-exploitation. The difference between the two is the difference between putting yourself in a position to experience negative backlash from society versus only articulating the things that you need to articulate. Do both jealousy and hate come from narcissism? That's an interesting question. So a lot of times, so there's a level of universal toxicity in our society where people automatically want to throw narcissism into the fold, specifically because uh, narcissism is perceived as something negative. There are levels of narcissism in everybody. Your ability to have high pride for yourself unnecessarily is a level of narcissism. Okay. There are positive levels of narcissism and there are negative levels of narcissism. There are negative levels of narcissism where you are superimposing your ego on somebody else in some way, shape, or form. But there are positive levels of that where you are not allowing external individuals to negatively impact your self-esteem. Everybody else can treat you like shit and you can still walk in a room like the best thing since sliced bread. And that is a level of narcissism. So to answer your question, does jealousy and hate stem exclusively from narcissism? No. Does how jealousy and hate get retaliated to or replicated or projected back onto you from narcissism? Possibly. But narcissism is not the core fundamental cause of jealousy and hate. And what you do about the jealousy and hate isn't going to be projected as a form of narcissism. He said, even millionaires and billionaires compare themselves to each other. Right. That's one of those situations where, like, now these days, a millionaire can say, "Oh, I'm broke," and he'll say, "Like, are you broke, or are you just MC Hammer broke?" There's a difference because MC Hammer got like $5 million, but MC Hammer's, uh, in a sense, from $53 million down to $5 million, he's broke. The IRS came and repossessed all of his shit. It makes sense. So narcissism is not necessarily negative. No, narcissism is only in a negative connotation when your narcissism is utilized to negatively impact somebody else. But take, for example, every woman in society that calls themselves a 10, that's a level of narcissism. Okay? Honest to God, it's a level of narcissism. The ugliest chick in the room can call herself a 10. And you realize that's gaslighting, right? Which is a level of narcissism. She could be overweight. She could be too short. Her face could be fat. She could not have enough hair on one side, too much hair on the other. She could have a mustache. She could have 3 stomachs, things that men would say is unattractive, and she would still call herself a 10. Why? Because she has high self-esteem and she has high pride in herself, and she believes that in spite of how she looks, she still looks the best that she possibly could be. And that is a level of self-pride, which is a level of narcissism. However, truth be told, if socially the accepted size is moderate to slim, and you are beyond moderate, you are more overweight, you can't lie and say that you're a 10. Yeah, and every woman that puts on makeup, every woman that attaches hair to their scalp that they bought from the store is not a 10. The odds of a guy wanting to sleep with her might be 10 out of 10, but the fact is that those women are not 10s. They're not 9s. They're not 8s. There's a 3-hour time limit from the time they get out of bed till the time they put their face on. They're not 10s. But they will call themselves 10s. That's gaslighting. When they take off all the makeup, when they take out all the hair, when they take off the eyelashes, they got the big poppy Kermit the Frog eyeballs, the mustache on their face, they got pimples all over the place, they got scraggly hair everywhere. You know, when they take off the girded belt and they go from having an hourglass figure to looking like an M&M. I mean, at the end of the day, they did what it took to look attractive, but naturally rolling out of bed, fresh out of the shower, they don't look like that. At the end of the day, they're not 10s. That's a level of narcissism, but they have high pride in themselves, right? He said, I'm a 10 because I know because I know grade me less. Yeah, you're right. A lot of people grade you less, you know, because it depends on what their scale is. On a scale of 1 to 10, based on certain criteria, certain factors. How does a school system today deal with this problem? It tends to give excessive praise to kids for substandard results in order to keep their morals up. Actually, the school system doesn't do anything about this. The school system has this no child get left behind situation. So they'll just pass you to the next grade because of your age. They don't want to have 16-year-olds in the same class with a 9-year-old just because that kid's not learning. So what they'll do is that they might hold you back 1 year. They might hold you back 2 years at the most over the course of 4 years. But they're not going to have you at 17 in the same class as a 14-year-old. They're not going to do it. They'll put you in the remedial classes, you know, separate you from the other people in the grade level, but they're not going to motivate you and keep your morale up. You're going to be sectioned off as a lost cause. They're going to prioritize the students that are learning, the honor students, the AP classes. They're going to the ones that are striving for better, the ones that ask for extra credit not to keep their grades up, but the ones that ask for extra credit just so that they can learn more. They're going to prioritize the students that apply themselves. When it comes down to how people carry themselves in class, we don't have school uniforms, but the schools do have a dress code that prohibits too much provocative dress. And they do have somewhat of an anti-bullying dynamic, but at the end of the day, the reason why a lot of schools was getting shot up was because the adults didn't give two shit about the kids that were suffering. That's the reason why the kids were shooting up the school, because they were being mistreated by their peers. The teachers did nothing about it, and the kids took it out on the other kids in the school. But there was no scenario where the teachers put a stop to the behavior, expel a student for bullying. It doesn't have to get to the physical fight. You want to act, you want to talk trash about other kids, go to another school, right? They don't do that. And most parents would protest that. No, my kid deserves an education too. Well, you need to teach him how to behave before you bring him to school. Because if he's coming to school and talking to kids like this, he needs to stay at home and you deal with it, right? But when schools start doing that, you start getting private school status. So the school is not going to deal with jealousy and envy, because you got to understand the competitiveness of public school, the competitiveness of private school. They encourage haters. They encourage jealousy. They expect, well, if you're jealous of little Timmy's A, you need to study harder. Actually, teachers right now, most schools that you go to, the teacher will praise the child that did the best, not give two shits about the child that came in number 2. The best kid in the class, oh, congratulations, give him a round of applause. But the kid that got the 50, see me after class. That's it. That's it. That's it. The school does not show. So when it comes down to sports, everybody gets a participation ribbon. So you just for showing up, get a little blue ribbon. So you got the gold trophy, the silver trophy, the bronze trophy, and a blue ribbon for everybody else. But for anything that's not athletics, oh no, it's highly competitive. It's highly competitive. So yeah, it's going to give excessive praise to the kids that are they're not giving it to the kids that are substandard. They're giving excessive praise to the kids that are excelling, and the kids that are substandard, you know, they're just like, you're still here. He said, I'm an 11 because I know the world will call me less. Okay, good job. So the social promotions of grade. Yes, that's right. You're a special education student. That's exactly what they're going to do. Oh yeah. So if enough of you failing and not it becomes a learning disorder, and once it becomes a learning disorder, you become a special ed student. So if you're 3 grades behind, now you're in the class with the kids with the short bus. That's what that's what happens there. In Korea and Japan, healthy foods are given to kids since pre-K because they believe that good nutrition supports good education. What about USA? That still serve frozen food to kids in public schools. Uh, in Korea, Japan, China, Taiwan, Taipei, they actually use education as a way of life, culture kind of thing. So kids learn all the time. Kids are exposed to learning before they learn how to walk. So kids are not developing the mindset that learning is work. They develop the mindset that learning is fun and a way of life. As a result, they want to learn. Then they're taught the competitiveness, and the competitiveness comes with praise. So the better you do, the more rewards your parents will give you. The better you do, the more rewards the school will give you. The more authority to do things that you otherwise would not be able to do, that the school will give you to give you praise for being competitive. A lot of the schools in Asia have like every kid in the school, and they will put all the grades up for every kid to see, from the smartest kid in the school to the dumbest kid in the school, and everybody knows who's the top kid in school. Well, I want to be better. So I want to be that top kid, and that's good. That's what they're doing that for. They're going to motivate everybody. You got certain schools that are separating kids based on their performance. Class A is the smart kids. Class E is the failures. Now, if you're in Class C, everybody knows that you're an idiot because only the idiots get put in Class C. Back to the main topic. A hater doesn't transform envy, they weaponize the envy. They let it rot, right? For the haters, envy is just kindling in them, right? The real fire, the roaring inferno that fuels their negative energy is terror. They already got the haterade in them, right? On a psychological level, hate is a totally different emotional state from dislike or envy. It's defined by a sense of personal threat. Think about that. A hater doesn't just see your success and want it. They see your success and they feel like it's a threat to their own life, their identity, or their story. So when people say they're just jealous, they're giving you a comforting lie that actually does you a huge disservice. It stops you from understanding the real dynamic at play. It prevents you from seeing the haters' reactions for what it really is: a giant flashing neon sign pointing right at the source of their terror. And that terror is all about you changing the game, not just for yourself, but for them too. Your success holds up a mirror, and they are terrified of what they're looking back at, right? This is almost like those situations where you got a bunch of husbands in a room with their wives, and one husband comes in doing things that all the other husbands don't do, and then all the other husbands get mad because now they got to step up their game because they got this one dude that's overachieving for his wife. Those guys hating on this dude because it threatens their position, because now they're going to be perceived as less performing husbands because they could have been doing more this whole time, but they're not. The wives are able to observe potential because they're looking at a more applied husband in the group. And women are going to be by comparison like, well, why you ain't doing that, right? So, what are haters so afraid of? Let's dissect the terror piece by piece. This isn't about making excuses for them because I don't like making excuses for anybody. This is going to be about giving you an owner's manual to their brain so that you can finally neutralize their powers over you. The first reason, your success obliterates their excuses. And this is going to be a big one because for so many people, life is a carefully built fortress of excuses. I can't get in shape because I have bad genetics and no time. Can't start a business because the economy is terrible and it's too risky. I can't leave this toxic relationship because it's complicated and being alone would be worse. I can't change my art because you can't make a living from it. Y'all remember the 80s and 90s when minorities used to say, oh, uh, we live in the hood because the man is keeping us down. And then Obama became president, and that was no longer an excuse. That's exactly what's going on here. These aren't just reasons, they're walls. They are the walls of a comfortable prison they've built for themselves. Inside that prison, they're safe from failure, safe from judgment, safe from the terrifying vulnerability of trying and then not succeeding. Their excuses are the bars of their cage, and they've convinced themselves that those bars are keeping them secure. And then you come along. Stephen says, I have big bones and the economy is not at its peak. Yeah, a lot of excuses. But that's one of the reasons why when people come and tell me, oh man, I got to pay off this bill before I start investing. Man, I got to pay off my truck. Man, I got to pay off my house. Man, I got to do X, Y, and Z. Bro, you could be drowning in debt. And you can still take $75 out of your money and start building your brokerage account right now today so that by the time you finish paying off your debt, you got a stack of cash on the side. If you blame what you're not doing on factors beyond your control, that's your excuse to not apply yourself to being successful. But if you blame, because you got to understand, people tell you all the time, oh, you got so much potential. That's a compliment and an insult. Because scientifically speaking, potential is the ability to do something that you are currently not doing. Potential transitions into kinetic when you start doing what you had the potential to do. So until you start operating on your kinetic energy, you are actually failing yourself because you got so much potential because there's so much shit you're supposed to be doing right now in your life, but you have no motivation to start. But like a snowball at the top of the hill, it continues to escalate. Once you start moving, your success will continue to increase. By the time you reach the final drop of potential that you have, and fulfill all of the kinetic energy that you had stored up all this time, you will see yourself far more successful than what you were before you started. But as long as you start with, I can't, I don't know how, but you got the ability to go try to find out. You know how to call folks, you know how to email stuff, you know how to Google shit. If you can get on Google and you can put your favorite jams on your cell phone, then you can get on Google and you can figure this shit out over here. If you can get on social media and you can find my podcast and you can get on social media and you can find all the other shit that I told you on my podcast to make yourself more successful. So I can't because you're taking your lack of effort and shielding it by a situation beyond your control. Because the only thing that's going to stop you from being better than what you are, besides your lack of motivation, is the consequences of your past decisions. So I can't get that CEO job because I got a felony. I can't get into the military because I got a disability. I can't get that FBI or CIA job title because of whatever, because of the way I got fired on one of my jobs once before. If that's what's going on, where your past decisions set the par for your future outcomes, now you're just accepting the consequences of bad decisions. But for you to say that I can't find a better job than the one that I have now, that's because you're not trying to change. For you to say, well, I can't increase my wealth because I don't have enough money on my job, like I'm not making enough hours or whatever, because you're not looking for another way. I've given you plenty of ways over the past year on how to start up a business on a computer and get paid like a side hustle, where you start turning money into money, where you can ultimately go from this being a hobby to this being a primary source of income, where you can work for yourself instead of work for somebody else. So the fact that you're still not working for yourself when I'm working for myself, you got to understand, you could be, you're just not. Right? So when somebody is threatened by your presence, you have to understand, you, within the same 24 hours in a day as somebody else, you who might have even worse genetics than somebody else, you who face the same bad economy, you who has just as uh, scarred, so they're going to attack me. They're going to attack you too. She's only fit because she's obsessed and they have no life. Right? Translation: if I admit she made time, then my no time excuse disappears. Right? He only got that promotion by sucking up, right? Translation: if I admit his hard work paid off, my the system is rigged excuse falls apart. The guy tries to throw some stuff up on my show to try to get me banned so that he doesn't admit that the reason why he's a financial failure in life is because he makes bad decisions. While he's looking at a group of people that have come together and actually started building themselves up and learning and growing from investing in themselves and taking the information that I provide to them so that they can invest in themselves. Right? When you get an excuse like, oh, they got lucky. Translation: if I acknowledge their consistency and sacrifice, then I have to confront the fact that I just gave up. Their hate is a desperate attempt to rebuild the walls that you just shattered. They aren't trying to tear you down. They are trying to rebuild their own cage so that they can feel so safe in their inaction all over again. Your success is a referendum on their choices, and they are terrified of the verdict. Number two, you broke the unspoken social contracts. Every social group, family, circle of friends, workplace, runs on a set of unspoken rules, social contracts. A very common clause in that contract is, you stay small so I can stay comfortable. Think about the before version of you, the version the haters was comfortable with. Maybe you were the funny one who was always a lovable mess. Maybe you were the reliable one who always complained about your job but never did anything about it. Maybe you were the one who always went along with the group, drank a little too much on the weekends, and gossiped about the same people. In that dynamic, everyone knew their place. The hater had a role, you had yours, and maybe their role was to feel slightly superior than you, or to be the helper to your mess, or just to feel normal next to your shared struggles. The same way this dude had an emotional breakdown on live TV, live podcasts, because he came to a podcast that was on for almost 2 hours talking about how we can better ourselves. and how other people decide not to better themselves. And you can't give them an excuse for not bettering themselves when there's so many options out there. He waited his turn to get on the show so that he could tell me, fuck me. And I'm sitting over here looking, fair enough. It speaks for itself. He could have got on the show and said something enlightening. He could have got on the show and said something positive. He could have told us a story about one time where he used to be down and he came up, and then other people around him felt bad about his success. And he could have talked about how he overcame that, how he detached himself from the negative people in his life and actually started having better people in his circle. No. Instead, he wants to do something negative. In the movie, playing in their head, you are a supporting character, perfectly cast to make them the main character and also make them feel good about themselves. Then you decide to rewrite the script. You stop being the mess. You stop complaining and start doing. You stop gossiping. You start working. You traded last night's out for early mornings in. You, in essence, broke the contract. This is not a small thing. To the hater, this feels like a betrayal. They don't sign up for this new version of you. The new, successful, glowing up you messes up their roles in their stories. So if you're no longer the project that they can fix, what's their purpose? If you're no longer complaining with them, they're suddenly all alone in their negativity. Your glow up scrambles the entire group dynamic and threatens their spot in the hierarchies. And this is where the fear of being left behind kicks in. It's a primal, almost childlike fear. And it was ironic that it happened on today's show of all shows when it happens. Wait, you're changing. Does that mean that you're going to leave me behind? That's what they're thinking. Does that mean that you're thinking that you're better than me now? That's what they're going to think. Suddenly, your success isn't just your win, it's their loss as well. It's a threat to the stability of their world. So the hating is going to begin. It's a desperate attempt to pull you back into your old roles. You've changed though. So this is not an observation, it is an accusation. The subtext is change back to who you were. Don't forget where you came from. Subtext, don't you dare raise above the station that we assigned you in. You think you're better than us now, right? This is pure projection. The truth is they feel that you are, and it makes them deeply uncomfortable. They aren't just criticizing your new habits. They are trying to enforce an old contract. They are grieving the loss of a version of you that made them feel safe. The hate is a leash, an attempt to yank you back down into the familiar pen where everyone else knows their place. They're terrified of the new world that you're representing, one where they might actually have to evolve too. The third reason is that you expose their show off of themselves. We're going to point out a shadow self because in psychology, the shadow of oneself is all the parts of ourselves that we push down, deny, or dislike. So the showmanship of ourselves is going to be the opposite side. This is going to be where we hide our insecurities, our laziness, our envy, our fears. I don't know, when I start the show late, a lot of the times it's because I'm lazy. A lot of times because I waited too late to start doing stuff right before the show that kind of ran into me starting the show on time. But I have the courage and capabilities to be able to admit that something that I got caught up in stopped me from hitting that start button on time. when I clearly could have hit the start button on time and put that off until later. You guys got to understand. The shadow of yourself is going to be the collection of traits that you don't want to admit that you have. Most people go through life trying to keep their shadow hidden, not just from others, but from themselves. They project a certain image. I'm a good person. I'm not jealous. I'm a hard worker. Your success is a problem because it often perfectly mirrors what's lurking in their shadows. This is the concept of projection. It's a defense mechanism where instead of dealing with an uncomfortable part of themselves, a person just pins it on someone else. It's a way of offloading their own unwanted feelings. Here's how it's going to work. The hater has a deep-seated fear that they're lazy. They feel it every time they hit the snooze button or scroll for hours instead of doing the work. It's a part of their shadow that they can't stand. Then they see you working tirelessly, disciplined, and crushing your goals. Your work ethic shines a light right on their laziness. To deal with this unbearable feeling, their brain does a twisted sort of flip. They project their flaw onto you. Suddenly, you're not disciplined. You're obsessed. You're not a hardworking person. You're a workaholic who's neglecting your family. They are literally attacking you for the very qualities that they wish they had and despises themselves for lacking those qualities. So they take that out on you the same way this guy came on the show and took it out on me. Take this one, for example. The hater feels deeply insecure and craves validation. The way this gentleman waited his turn to get up on the show, craving validation. They're constantly worried about what people think. Then you come along, confident, bold, and unapologetically yourself. You're not afraid to state your opinions. This triggers their insecurities. But instead of thinking, wow, their confidence makes me realize how insecure I am, they project it. They call you arrogant, cocky, or a show off. They are punishing you for displaying the confidence they secretly wish they had, but are too afraid to embody. The same way this guy was trying to punish me for his insecurities. So he jumped onto the show to try to make me feel bad. He said, it wasn't me, I hope. No, that's why you're still here. I banned that guy. I banned that guy for doing what he did. I banned that guy for doing what he did. And then after the show, I will make sure that I edit that segment out of the show for later playback. Because dude did not have that to do, but he did it. And he did it at an interesting time during the show because it actually shows me that, it's resonating. This is resonating with people. And I'm okay with the negative backlash. Hold on, guys. I gotta change my headsets. Hold on a second. Let's get this. All right. There we go. I had to switch up to the other one. This is going to be why the accusations from haters can feel so weirdly personal and off base. It's because it's not about you. They are having an arrogant argument with their own reflection in the mirror of your success. The things that they hate about you are often a roadmap to the things that they cannot face about themselves. So when a hater says you're fake, or when that guy jumped up and was like, fuck you, you're an asshole, all right. They might be terrified of their own inauthenticity.
When they say that you're just in it for the money, they may be grappling with their own morality. They may be grappling with their own materialism. They may be grappling with their own ethics and integrity. Their venom is a confession. Their hate is a self report. They are terrified of their own shadow, and you just happen to be the light that made them see it. Tonight's show about haters made a hater come to light. Reason number four, they are addicted to the feeling of hating. And this is going to be the last one that we're going to get into, maybe the most unsettling one, because it has the least to do with you. For some people, hating is an addiction, it's their emotional caffeine. In a world where so many people feel powerless and insignificant, like the gentleman that was just up here before, outrage is one of the few feelings that can make them feel powerful and alive, right? So he felt like he did something, right? The act of hating, the gossip in the group chat, the snarky comments online, jumping onto the live stream and say something negative, the shared eye roll with a coworker, this creates temporary spikes of stimulation and just as importantly, a sense of belonging. Hating on you becomes a bonding activity. It creates an instant in group, us, the reasonable people, and an out group, you, the arrogant, successful one, right? In that shared negativity, they find community. They feel righteous. Talking about your supposed flaws is way easier than discussing their own. Deconstructing your latest success as luck is a way for them to feel smart without having to achieve anything. In this dynamic, you're not even a person, you're content. Your life becomes the new season of a TV show they love to hate watching, but the fuckers watch anyway. They don't need to be your enemy. They just need to be their favorite drug. They need to keep succeeding so well, you got to keep succeeding so that they have something new to be outraged about. If you stop succeeding, they stop having something to hate on. They need something new to pick apart. They need something new to bond over. Haters need your success so that they can keep hating. This is why they seem so obsessed, why they watch your every move, why they will create multiple different uh, 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 fake accounts so that they can come back to the same live podcast and troll your podcast again. Even as they claim to dislike you so much, even as that guy made it seem like he didn't like me so much, he stayed on the show. He waited his turn so that he could have his moment to try to devalue and disrespect me during the live podcast. He needed that. They're not watching because they hate me. They're not watching because they hate you. They're watching because they are addicted to the feeling that they get from hating on you, from hating on me. It gives them energy, it gives them community, it distracts them from the quiet desperation of their own lives. Understanding this is so liberating because if their hate isn't personal, but just a form of entertainment or an addiction, then there's literally nothing that you can do to win over them, right? And more importantly, there's nothing that you should be doing. You're not responsible for managing their addiction. Your only job is to realize that you've become an unwilling star of their drama, and your best move is to just walk off the set. Exactly. Your success feeds them, fuels them. The time it's going to take for that guy to create another identity, because in order for him to get into the show, in order to click the link, he has to verify his email and then approve the mic, approve the camera to come onto the show live. By the time he's going to have to put up so much effort to create yet another account to get back into the comment section. because he can't just change his name and come back. His email has been blocked off of the podcast now. So he has to create a whole nother identity so that he can get back in here so that he can try to talk to me again. He might put in the effort, but he might have received just enough validation from the day that he's done with this particular podcast until I pop up on his For You page with another alt account. Because as long as he uses that particular account, he's blocked from this show. So if he really, really wants to come back, he has to create a whole nother account, then create a YouTube account, then come back to the show, which means he'll probably be here like next week. Up to now, we've been inside the hater's head, dissecting their fear, their psychology, their brokenness. Now it's time to come back to you, come back to me, come back to us, because the real power in this knowledge isn't just understanding them, it's in how it changes how we understand ourselves. He said, if you're going to troll, at least make it funny. Yeah, look. I'm not gonna lie. I have had a few people come to the show and say some inappropriate stuff, and I find it funny, and I'll laugh a little bit, and I'll ask them to stop. But they got some guys that are so bad about their troll. You notice that there's some comments that don't even make it up on the screen anymore. Like certain words and phrases are even banned out of the comment section now because they're just doing too much. Just out of the American market, you got 385 million Americans, you got 170 million TikTok users. There's at least 5% of haters out of hundreds of millions of people. You get quite a few of them that come through the show. I'm okay with some of the haters that feed the comment section until they start being vulgar and negative. When the dude started putting his butt on the screen, that's when I was like, all right, time to ban him. When he was just saying fuck me, I was like, all right, yeah, we might actually turn this into a conversation because he's actually hating right now. But once he started putting his butt on the screen, I was like, I gotta block him, and then I gotta cut that segment out because he's being inappropriate. But specifically because he's being inappropriate. That's the whole dynamic, right? So yeah, I agree with you. At least if you're gonna troll the show, at least be funny about it. What the knife say to the spoon? I don't know, but at least we're at least making funny, So this is going to be the turning point in the show. This is going to be where we start diagnosing their sickness and start prescribing you guys with a cure. Because I never find a problem without giving you guys a solution. And the cure is going to be, from this moment forward, you will no longer see their hate as a wound. You will see it as a compass. A compass always points north. It's a reliable external sign of a fixed truth. Hate or fear is your new true north. It is the most reliable external sign that you are moving in the right direction. It's a map of your own progress. Me having people hate me on the show shows I'm reaching enough people and triggering enough people to make conscious choices to take a look at themselves and decide whether or not they're going to stop fucking up. Does that mean that each person that I hit is actually going to recognize that they're going to stop fucking up and actually stop fucking up? No. But does it mean that I'm hitting enough people and letting them know that, hey, if you're part of the bottom 75% of America that's not making enough money to be self-sustainable, if you're living from paycheck to paycheck, lifestyle creep, where you're making just enough money to get to your next paycheck, you should be changing your decision-making skills so that you can have an abundance. If you don't have an abundance, you're fucking up. Now, since I've made that apparent to everybody, if you don't have more than what you need to live the life that you want to live, you're fucking up. We're going to change that. So when everybody comes to the show, they hate on me. I'm triggering people because they're hating on me when I'm telling them they're fucking up. By all means, hey, haters are going to hate. But you got to think about it like this. If no one is reacting to what you're saying or what you're doing, it probably means that you're standing still. You're staying in your lane. You're not rocking the boat. You're not challenging anything. You're just maintaining the status quo. And comfort is the enemy of growth. We say that in investments. Volatility brings profits. Comfort kills the growth of your portfolio because comfort brings stability, and stability takes away from volatility, and a lack of volatility takes away from financial success in investments. He said, remember to stop fucking up and come here to make your life better. Yeah, I gotta like, subscribe, and mash those reaction buttons. Now, the moment the negativity starts, that's when you know that you've left the harbor. The whispers, the side eyes, the negative comments when they jump up on the screen, the you've changed comments. That is the sound of you making waves. That is the sound of you creating friction against a world of mediocrity. That is the sound of growth. So let's reframe it. That person who calls your new fitness journey obsessive, your compass is telling you you found a level of discipline that terrifies them. Keep going. That family member who says that your business idea is too risky, your compass is telling you you've tapped into a level of courage that exposes their fear. Double down on it. Double down on their fear. That friend group that went silent when you got your promotion, your compass is telling you that you just blown past the upper limits of what they thought was even possible. And you're challenging their definition of success. Aim even higher. My homeboy, when I bought him his car, his mom told him, "Don't get that car, get a Jeep," because in her home country they like Jeeps. Now, the car that I got him was a sports car, a fuel efficient sports car that was good on his insurance. She's zipping all over the place with his car now. I told him the other day. I said, when she starts talking cash about your whip, you need to remind her, hey, didn't you tell me don't buy this? You shouldn't even be riding in it. When I'm over here talking on the show about haters hating, and I talk about how we need to build ourselves up to be financially successful, and this guy jumps in and does what he does, he's telling me that I am delivering the right message to the right people. Keep delivering the message. Their fear is not a stop sign for you, it is a milestone. It's a checkpoint telling you that you just leveled up so much that you're now a threat to the old world. You've become so bright that you're casting a shadow that they can no longer ignore. Don't run from that light. Don't try to appease it either. Don't shrink yourself back down to make the negativity go away. Instead, lean into it. Use it as data. What specifically are they attacking? That is often the very area of your growth that is the most powerful. Their negativity isn't a verdict on your worth, it is a filter that reveals who is really ready to evolve with or without you, and who is determined to be left behind. So I want to know, what has your compass been telling you guys lately? What's the one piece of hate or concern that you've received that, after hearing it, you now realize after today's show that that was just a sign of them being terrified of you? Make sure that you guys drop it in the comments. Now, we're doing this not to shame them, but to reframe it for yourself. Let's build a list all the way down to the fundamentals. We're going to cover the ways that we know that we're on the right track by sharing what you've experienced. You're not just validating your own journey, you are giving someone else permission to finally read their own compass correctly. So, since we understand what's going on with haters hating, we have new perspectives. But insight without action is just trivial. Y'all already know this. Faith without work is dead. Hope without action is impossible. A miracle is the capability to take action at the most inopportune time and strive for the slimmest chances of success. Because if you don't apply yourself, you will not succeed. So you need a set of tools, a new operating system for this reality. Forget ignoring the haters. That's passive behavior. We're going to take an active stance. We're going to practice just a little bit of psychological judo. Because in judo, you use your opponent's weight and momentum against them. You don't meet force with force. You redirect it. You use their attack to your advantage. Here's your framework for becoming a master of hater judo. Turn haters into data, not demons. First, this move here, fantastic. Stop seeing your opponent as some evil monster. See them as a body with momentum. We have to do the same thing. Stop demonizing your haters and give them all that power. We don't want to do that. They aren't demons, they're data points. Become a scientist of your own success. Create a hater log. For the next 30 days, you want to create a hater log. Every time you get a negative comment, don't feel it, document it. Write down who said it, a friend, a relative, an anonymous troll. What was the comment? Was it must be nice? What was the context? I posted about a vacation. What is the underlying fear this reveals? Their fear of financial lack, their belief that success must be unearned. By doing this, you shift from being the victim of the attack to being the analyst of the data. You move from your emotional heart to your logical brain. The sting fades and the pattern becomes clear. After 30 days, you'll have a spreadsheet that isn't a list of insults, but a blueprint of your growth. And you'll see, wow, 80% of the negative comments are about body. That means that we're glowing and it's threatening them. You just identified your biggest area of progress. Your next move is clear. Build on that strength. The judo sounds like fun. I want to get into some kind of martial arts. There are so many YouTube videos out there right now. You can learn mixed martial arts if you just took 30 minutes a day out of your day and just practice whatever moves that you can practice in your house by watching those videos and repetitively practice them until you memorize the moves by heart. You can go one step further with that and you can find all of the banned UFC moves, all of the banned karate moves, all of the banned competition moves, because those are the moves that do the most damage and are the most lethal. And if you incorporate those moves into your combo, you will be able to have the most definitive black belt in every sport, and nobody will even know where you got it from. But it just requires you to practice it. And with the way we've got AI automating so many things that we need to do, while AI is writing your term paper, you're practicing jujitsu. If you did take a karate class, you would be the only student in that karate or jujitsu class that is not asking the teacher to show you how to attack. You would be the only one asking the teacher to show you how to defend. Why? Because you're learning how to attack at your house. I don't need you to teach me the death moves. I need you to teach me how to block and counter. Because I already know the offensive side. I know how to rush in. Show me how to stand my ground and pivot. You come in there half prepared, you're better off than most of their students. Because most of the students get the ass whooped and then they go to the class, paying for the class, thinking that the teacher's going to teach them how to fight. No, the teacher's going to teach you how to defend yourself and remain calm while doing it, because you cannot make intentional decisions in the midst of emotional chaos. Let's make some markets move, bro. Hey, get in there, Joe Jack. Soon as you should have grabbed your stock party already. You should have went in there and did the 12 classes. They should have been in slid you probably 12, at least 12 or 13 stocks already. And then if you linked your account and put up at least $5, they should be sending you your $30. So you should be able to have $35 to put towards your membership, and then put another $20 down so that you can start investing in the stock. And then when we come up in 2 weeks, we're going to be covering a slew of stocks for June and July, and you'll be able to get a lot of the stocks off the dividend rotation strategy. Then, Joe Jack, if you went into the membership, you would see we got what, 8 different lists of investment portfolios. I'm in what's hot. You're in what's hot, and what's hot is overpriced. I'm in what's undervalued, and what's undervalued is like right now. Prospect Capital is like $2.12 a share. So get a lot more money off of that one than what you would buying into something like Tesla or Netflix or something like that. When you're buying into something that's like $300 a share versus something that's like $2 a share, where if you're at $2 a share, getting 5 cents back per share, you buy 100 shares of that, you got $5 versus buying one share of Johnson and Johnson and you got $1. So make sure that you double check each one of the ones that you're getting into. We cover a lot of these on our Tuesday night shows, which lets you guys know like where to put your money and where the money been when we do start covering stock markets. But as soon as I see you in there, because I was checking, because Stephen reminded me about that stock party. After I double check, as soon as I see you in there, I'll be like, hey, did you check this stock? Did you check that stock? Did you check the other stock? And look, Steven be doing his research. Steven hit me up about CarMax the other day. I was like, damn, I didn't even think about that one. I had to do some research on that one. Like, woo, look at this one. He getting creative. I'm in. I'm in. I believe you. I believe you. But whenever you got time, take a look at what's hot. Okay, here, I'll help you out. See that list going across the top of the screen? Those are dividend paying stocks. The majority of them are dividend paying stocks. And each one of those stocks are there's about 52 stocks in total that we're following. And out of those 52 stocks, I've picked about 17 or 19 of them. That is a highly profitable dividend driven platform that also contains growth and technology. So in the membership, we got those portfolios put together. But these are the stocks going across the top of the screen that are some of the hot stocks. Okay, so what do I do? So what you do is you go into your Stash App account after you put some money onto the account. You go into the I believe it's the investment opportunity where you type in the ticker or write the name of one of the stocks that's in there, and then it pops up. You click it, then you click invest, and then once you click invest, it's going to ask you for an amount. You put an amount in there, and then you hit send, and then tomorrow morning when the market opens up, it's going to buy the stocks for you. Because I like to buy dividend payers, and I plan on holding forever. So don't think I'll ever sell a single stock. Me neither, bro. I'm doing buy and holds. That's what I would like to do. Is that I'm glad you got me started. I'm glad you got started, bro, because this is gonna build you forever. You like stocks or ETFs? I do both stocks and ETFs. Right now, Stash App is actually an ETF-based platform that operates on stocks where you have more liquidity because you put your money on you put the value, the dollar value on your platform, right? And then depending on how much, like you could put up $500 towards a stock. And if the stock is 255 a share, it'll give you $2.55 worth of shares. So you don't have to buy exactly 100 shares the way you would have had to do with TD Ameritrade or Acorn. It gives you $500 worth of shares. So if you get a fractional share with ETFs, you get a fractional share, but you get your $500 worth. It's still going to pay you dividends, which also means that you can get the dividends and re-up on either that one or something else. But the benefit of the ETF is that you can sell it today and it'll be sold tomorrow. instead of you having to put it up right now and then wait over the next 2 weeks for it to be sold in a contract on either a call or a put option when you're doing options trading. The what about mutual funds? Because I have a bunch of those. If you want to know about the mutual fund, because today's show we're talking about hater. If you want to, we're talking about haters and how to improve ourselves from haters. If you want to know about mutual funds, you got to go back and watch our mutual funds show because that will help you understand all the information about mutual funds. We also covered annuities. So if you go back and watch our show about mutual funds and annuities, you'll know about those. We covered high interest savings. We've covered health savings accounts. We've covered life insurance policies. We're covering the life insurance policies that you invest in, and we've also covered. I believe we've covered Roth IRAs and 401ks before as well. So you just got to just go to the platform and go and type those in and go take a look at those. Because today we're talking about something different. Today is not a business and finance thing, but I did take a short segue to kind of give you a little bit of a short step into what to take a look at into the platform there. Special shout out to Claudia. She's back. She said, dude, you got a different background. Nice. Yes, man. We got this big ass banner for $8. For $8. Now, some people be spinning an arm, leg, and an eye, and I'm like, no, I'm one step away from a flag for $8. Yeah, I thought it was nice too. Is it can I transfer money out of a mutual fund into an ETF or a stock? Um, all of that information is covered in our mutual fund show about your ability to pull out of ETF funds. But in the short, if you invested into a mutual fund, they have time limits on it. And since you can't control whether or not they're going to give you back the principal or the interest, they do have penalties for pulling your money out of the mutual fund once it starts turning over interest. While you could put your principal in there for nothing and pull your principal back out for little to nothing outside of transaction fees. I appreciate you, Claudia. I love it too. As soon as I open a box, I was like, that's fantastic. Uh, but yeah, as to, even though you can pull your money out with very little penalties outside of transaction fees, when it comes down to mutual funds, annuities, CDs, treasury bonds, anything to that effect, when you pull your money out before the expiration or maturity date of that particular type of investment option, they will penalize you for any interest that comes out with your withdrawal. And since you cannot select pull out my principal only, uh, typically whenever whatever money is recently added to your account, if it was added to your account as interest and you decide after that was added to your account, I'm gonna take some money out, they're probably gonna penalize you, right? So I don't know the exact ins and outs of how they penalize, why they penalize, when they penalize, but after your account starts turning over interest, you will risk losing your interest to pull money out, right? But if you just started the account, you put the money in, you haven't gotten a dollar of interest in yet, and you want to pull your money out, you're likely able to do so with less consequences. But if you've got some mutual funds that's been sitting there for a few years, and you call yourself trying to pull it out, and it has not matured yet, you haven't reached that age where the penalties are gone, you would be pulling out of the mutual funds and taking a big dive. But on the other side, though, if you've crossed that 65 or 70-year-old age range where the mutual funds are no longer giving you penalties for withdrawing, at that point you can pull all your money out, taxable income, so you're going to pay taxes on it, put it down on ETFs, and make more money off of ETF trading than what you would be making off of mutual funds. So yeah, opportunity cost. But you got to ask yourself, do I want to pay the taxes to move the money from the mutual fund to the ETF trading, or do I want to just leave my mutual funds there and take new money and put it up on ETFs? I would say take your new money, put it up on ETFs, let your mutual funds do what they've been doing. I appreciate you, Joe Jack. I try to be helpful as often as possible. Now, the second thing we're going to be doing, because today we're talking about haters hating, and we're going to be talking about what to do about growing beyond the haters. You want to practice strategic invisibility, the quiet flex. And this is what Stephen was talking about earlier about how he doesn't project his success as often as possible. Sometimes the loudest clap back is silence. So the loudest retaliation that you give to somebody else is not saying anything in return. He says, I guess I will lower what I've been putting in my mutual funds and put it in my stash account. That's exactly what you should do because whatever's in your mutual funds is in your mutual funds. But one of the benefits with Stash App, there's a Roth IRA on there, so you can start putting up to $7,500 into the Roth IRA that's on your Stash App, and then still put into your personal portfolio, and you can invest in both areas over there. So, I mean, that can help you out as well. I haven't established a Roth IRA there, so I'm not sure if I can selectively grab all of the same shares that I grab on the regular portfolio. But I would, if I were you, put up $100 or $200 into the Roth IRA and then see if you can manually select all of the stocks that I put up on the screen and put them into your Roth IRA. And if you can, then my personal portfolio would be anything over the first $7,500 worth of investments that I have and put everything else into the Roth IRA. That would be what I would recommend because then you're going to have tax deferred on a majority of your money, and then you're going to have uh, uh, the benefits of your brokerage account on the other side. That would be a fantastic shift in success. Now, you don't want to ignore these people when you're doing what you're doing. So what you got to understand is that we're talking about a strategic withdrawal of information. And that's what I was telling Stephen earlier today. Haters are addicted to your updates. They need these updates to fuel their story. Your second judo move is to cut off their supply of information. This is the quiet flex. It means that you stop announcing every single move to people who have proven they can't handle your life, right? This isn't about hiding your success for the most part. It's about not casting your pearls before swine, right? Go on an information diet. You want to create a close friends list on social media and only share your biggest wins there. Let the main feed get the polished, less personal stuff. Like the stuff that I put in membership, that's not the stuff that I talk to you about guys about on the main show. The next time a hater friend asks what's new, you give them a polite, boring, vague answer. Oh, just keeping busy. How about you? Because you know that you got some friends that you just don't want to disassociate with. But every time you tell them something positive about you, two things happen. They give you a backhanded compliment, and then they talk trash about you to other people. For some reason, you don't disassociate yourself with that person, but you always find yourself in the same place at the same time with this person where if they talk positively about your success, it's after they remind you that they made you who you are. That part. You're not obligated to give these people the ammo that they're going to use to shoot you down later. Let your results do the talking. Instead of talking about a successful job, I mean, they recognize that you're making more money when you've upgraded your vehicle. Instead of bragging about all the wealth that you have in the background, they're going to recognize it when you're moving into a bigger house. Certain parts of your life you just can't hide. You're getting new furniture, your friends are hanging out at your house, and big ass boxes are being dropped off on your doorstep. There's certain things you just can't hide, but you're not going to call them up or take screenshots of it and put it up on social media and say, look at what I got. This banner came in 2 weeks before y'all saw it on the podcast. I don't even look at what I got. That's not me. Don't talk about the diet. Let them see the results in 6 months. Don't announce you're writing a book. Let them see the book on a bookshelf. The quiet flex drives haters crazy because it robs them of their power. They can't critique what they can't see. And when the results finally appear, fully formed and undeniable, their window to cast doubt is already closed. You starve their addiction by taking yourself off the menu. Weaponize radical kindness. This is going to be the third thing you're going to do. And this is the most advanced move. And it's devastatingly effective. When a hater comes at you with aggression, your instinct is to either shrink or fight back. Notice he said, fuck me. I'm like, yeah, fuck you too. Both responses give them what they want, a reaction, and maybe even some drama. Kindness, however, is a psychological pattern to interrupt that, right? Not fake, a surgery sweet niceness. I mean, calm, grounded, almost boring kindness. It's the calm, I hear you in the face of their storm. Notice, he said, fuck me. I instinctively said, fuck you. But then I was like, wait, hold on, hold on. I want to get you on here because we're talking about haters and you're hating, so let's talk about haters. Notice how I even caught myself slipping and had to readdress my own situation. He said, my results are always the same, staying out of the way. But see, that's the thing, Stephen. You're only staying out of the way because you're not trying to shine as bright as you possibly could. Because at the end of the day, if you are the spotlight over there, that spotlight's going to shine on everything over here. Anybody who's in this area who doesn't want to be in that light has got no choice but to shine right alongside you or get out of the way. When you say that you're staying out of the way, you're saying that you're staying out of the spotlight because you are not willing to impact your environment. No, I definitively build a legacy on impacting my environment. Now, I can't guarantee that my impact is always going to be positive. I'm still growing, I'm still learning, but my intent is to always positively impact my environment. But one thing I will do, everybody that passed me, everybody that encounters me, they will not forget the day that I showed up doing what I do the way I do what I do. Because at the end of the day, there's only one like me that does it the way I do it, right? And it is exceptionally effective. It intimidates people, and I'm okay with that, right? So when they attack, you're going to respond with a simple, non defensive statement that acknowledges their feelings without validating their attacks. I'm still working on it, as you've seen that today. But then you want to disengage. That part I did master. Once I seen that it started getting too inappropriate, I just took him off the air. I can't believe you're spending so much on a personal trainer, might be something a hater says. That's so irresponsible, right? You're going to take that and say, you know what, I appreciate you sharing your perspective. For me, investing in my health is a priority right now. Anyway, did you catch the game last night? Notice how I changed the topic. You don't argue with them. You don't justify. You don't get angry. You simply state your reality with calm confidence and change the subject. You denied them the fight that they were craving. You've essentially shown up to a sword fight holding a cup of tea. It's confusing. It's disarming. Publicly, it makes them look unhinged. Privately, it protects your peace and it keeps you from becoming bitter like they are. Number four, you want to build your builders only circle. Now, remember, I was talking to you guys on the show before about becoming a buildable man and how I was telling the women that they need to be looking for a buildable man, not a fixer upper, but a person that builds in their life, grows in their life, and you can build and grow with this person in your life where y'all can excel together, right? Now, I'm telling you to build a builders only circle. The key part of judo is controlling your environment. You want to fight on your mat on your terms. Y'all know This is my backyard. We want to fight on my side of the field where the advantage is on my side, right? Your life is going to be no different than that. You can't thrive in a toxic environment. You have to radically upgrade your surroundings. And this means that you actively curate a circle of builders, which is what I do on my channel. Whenever somebody starts showing toxicity, I block them off of the show, which leaves the only people that comment in the comment section are people that will not be toxic. Builders are people who are also working on something. They don't got to be working on the exact same thing I'm working on, but they're working on something. A business, improving their body type, a skill, their own healing from a bad experience of some kind. They get the process. They respect the struggle. They celebrate the wins because they know what it took to get there, right? So your energy is your most valuable asset. And I've told you that before. So you want to stop spending it trying to convince the wreckers in your life to be happy for you. They won't be. Their identity is invested in tearing things down. Instead, invest that energy in finding and nurturing your builders. Join a mastermind group, go to a seminar, come to this podcast every day, join a gym with the real community. Start your own small group of people on the same path. Make a rule that you will only take advice on a building from people who have actually built something. So the opinions of the wreckers are going to be noise. Somebody that tells you you ain't shit, I mean, we're in the same area doing the same thing at the same time. You ain't shit neither. So, I mean, I can't take advice from somebody who does not value me and has not become successful. Now, let Elon Musk come to me and tell me you're doing it wrong. Well, what do you mean? Big difference, right? When you spend 80% of your time in an environment where your glow up is normal, the 20% of negativity that you get from haters loses all its power. I'm not going to lose any sleep tonight because of what happened. Number five, you want to turn their narrative into your content, which is what I've been doing for the rest of the show. This is going to be the ultimate reversal. This is where you take the weapon that they tried to use against you and you want to melt it down and forge it into a crown. Every pattern of hate, every ridiculous accusation, even projections they throw at you is a teaching moment. It is material, it's content. Their objections become your chapter titles. They say you're doing too much. Great. Make a video title. Why doing too much is the bare minimum for breaking generational curses. They call you arrogant for sharing your wins. Fantastic. Write about the difference between arrogance and celebrating yourself in a world that profits from your doubt. That's heavy, isn't it? They accuse you of changing. Perfect. That's your next journal prompt. Your next talk is a love letter to the version of me I became when I stopped being who they wanted me to be. You hijack their narrative. You take their poison, label it, analyze it, and then sell it back to the world as an antidote. You show them that their attempts to hurt you only made you wiser, stronger, and more insightful. So you aren't a victim of their story. You are the narrator, and you decide what it all means. This is the ultimate checkmate move. You haven't just redirected their energy, you've harnessed it to power your own climb. Now, we started with the simple idea haters are just jealous. And now we know the truth. They're not just jealous, they're terrified. They are terrified that your light is exposing the corners of their own lives that they've been too scared to look at. And they're terrified that your courage calls their own inaction into question. They are terrified that your growth means you'll leave them behind in the comfortable misery that they call home. And their hate, their criticism, their negativity, it was never really about you. It was always about them. It's the sound of their fear. He says, you know who's a judo master? Putin. He won tournaments and champions, I believe. I don't know anything about Putin. But what I do know is that if you become a judo master of how people ridicule you and your success, you will find yourself not being diminished by the negative energy being passed towards you. You will find yourself thriving off of recognizing that you are doing it the right way because everybody else is envious because of what you're accomplishing. Now, that sound of ridicule is no longer a source of pain for you. It is a signal. It's going to be your compass. It is the confirmation that you are on the move, that you are growing, that you are daring to become the person that you were always meant to be. You are stopping that idle potential and converting into a kinetic performer. So let them be terrified. Let people who are terrified of earthquakes, people who are terrified of tidal waves, people who are terrified of lightning, let them be terrified. They're going to be terrified of forces of nature that they cannot control. And your growth, your evolution, you are another force of nature in your own right that they can't control. And you're not here to be a small or predictable force. You are not here to make everyone feel comfortable. You are here to become who you are and who you want to be. And if it makes you the villain in their story of mediocrity, then so be it. Wear that title with pride. Because every time they whisper your name in resentment, it's just another confirmation that you are winning. So let them watch in terror. You have work to do and you've got to keep shining. And one more thing I want to tell you about this is that you know that every time that somebody talks shit about you behind your back, guess what? They're still talking about you. I said my legacy was a success of the people around me. So, I mean, there's going to be a lot of people that didn't succeed that's going to talk trash about me, but a lot of people who succeeded because of me, who are going to tell their kids and their grandkids about me. And at the end of the day, long after I'm not here, either you love me or you hate me, but you're still talking about me. You're still doing what I said do. You're still criticizing what you didn't want to do after I told you to do it. But what's not going to happen is I'm not going to phase out of existence. That's what's not going to happen. I'm not going to be a distant memory. Why? Because my light continues to shine. And that's not something that a lot of people can do. So for you guys, I want to make sure that y'all keep doing what y'all got to do. Now, that's all I got for y'all for this afternoon. We did a fantastic 2.5 hours. This is going to be very insightful. Um, I'm going to start by saying, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. Fellas, I give you all this information to make you guys higher value men, not just by improving your financial life, but also by improving your decision-making skills. You have the capabilities to take the things that are inside of your control that you don't like and proactively change those things. Your life starts improving as a result. Then you have the capabilities of navigating around the things that are outside of your control. Right? Ladies, while this is a male driven podcast from the male's perspective, you too have the capabilities of making yourselves higher value women, finding and figuring out your 20 and 30-year plan, reverse engineering what it takes for you to get done today, and start proactively every day working towards your goal. Your virtue is the goal driven behavior that you put on your life on a day to day basis. He says, yeah, Putin is an 8th degree black belt called Eighth Dan. That's good for him. But what we're talking about today is you guys bettering yourselves and putting yourselves on the map. And I think that that would be the most effective thing for you guys to pay attention to is for you to put yourselves on the map so that you guys can be more successful. So instead of the highlight of your discussion is something that Putin is doing over there, the highlight of your day is somebody talking about what you're doing over here. That's one of the biggest things about your life is for your goal to not have somebody else's actions be the talk of your day, the water cooler talk of your day. Your day should be revolved around what all you've accomplished, who all you've inspired, the people that you mentor, the people who've been benefited from your mentorship. That should be the biggest parts of your life, right? So, ladies, when you're doing your thing and you're staying in your grind and you keep your eyes and ears open for those potential suitors that have the character, the personality, the drive, the ambition, the dedication, the motivation, the integrity, you pay attention to their goals, their 20 and 30-year plan, and you level up with them. If their 20 or 30-year plan blends in with your 20 or 30-year plan, y'all don't have to have the exact same goals, but y'all are heading in the same direction, similar direction. Y'all can come together and y'all can conquer each other's goals as a team. I've told you guys plenty of times that two people can make it to $1 million faster than one. Thought you're talking about judo. No, sir. I was actually the whole show today. Well, if you look at the screen, it says, "Are haters secretly jealous of your glow?" So if you understand, the topic of today's discussion was about haters hating and how you interact with how people devalue you for your success. So the whole show was about how to overcome being devalued about success. And one of the metaphorical analogies that I utilize is treating your interactions with people who devalue your success like judo. Instead of taking that hit head on and being broken, you leverage their momentum against them. Instead of allowing them to devalue you, you allow their comments to motivate you to be even more successful. That's what we were talking about today. This podcast is about self improvement, self development, financial information. This is about learning how to be better. We do talk about this, that, and everything in between, but each topic has a core theme of how it directly impacts your ability to make, save, and invest in yourself, and the direct impact on how you are able to maintain or change your decision making skills so that your decision making skills doesn't negatively impact the way you make, save, and invest money, which ultimately brings the topic back to your capabilities to make, save, and invest money to build a life that you are satisfied with by changing the way you make money and changing the way you spend it. 'Cause I don't think I have 20 years left, so I got to make some moves. Hey, Michael's like 70, 71 years old, and he's here every day while he's doing estate sales and auctions and stuff to that effect. So, I mean, there's always another way. You don't need to have a 20-year plan if you're 70 years old. You can have a 5 or 10-year plan if you're 70 years old. But if you're 40 or 50 years old, 60 years old, the average person is starting to make it to 90 years old. So you can do a 10-year plan. You know what I mean? There, but the goal is for those individuals that are 20, 30, 40 years old, 50 years old. Because if you're 50, you could look at Donald Trump. What, he's like 85, 87 years old. If you're 50, you potentially have 30 more years left. You could still do 20 years. And then at 71, 72, you're still able to retire better than you would have been had you been hoping that Social Security disability would be giving you some money when you retire. Your goal is to not have to depend on your government to pay for your standard of living. Your goal is to produce the type of standard of living that you can take to any one of the 200 plus countries and sovereign nations that I've talked about on this podcast that you would be able to pay for yourself anywhere you go. You don't have to wait for somebody else to look out for you. You don't have to get put into a nursing home or a retirement home. You can pay for in-home nurses. You can go to the Philippines and but look, you say you 50. Okay, you 50 and I'm 40. So you 10 years older than I am, but that doesn't mean that you can't spend the next 15 years making yourself financially successful so that by the time you're 67, when your mutual fund and your annuity fund kick in, you still would have way more money on the front end so that you don't got to tap into the back end. But for the average person that's 40 years old, you've got like 45 years left of life or more. You can put 20 years towards fixing your shit, where by the time you're 65, 70 years old, you can retire. If you're 20, 30 years old, you've got like 50 plus years that you could put 20 years towards fixing yourself. Yeah, that's a lot of years. But success is not overnight. This isn't a get rich quick scheme. If it would have been a get rich quick scheme, you could call it a scam. This is long term self investments. You are investing in your future so that when you reach that point, you're not struggling. You got a portfolio that's doing 12% return, 14, 15% return. You're outdoing the S&P 500 over the course of the next 15 years, depending on how much you invest. You can turn a $500 a month investment into a $500,000 portfolio, $750,000 portfolio, which be paying you 70,000 a year on that same 10 or 10,000 or 10% after taxes portfolio, where you would be getting like 70,000 a year off your $700,000 portfolio, 50,000 a year off of your $500,000 portfolio, which ultimately means that depending on what your standard of living costs, you might be making more money than what you need to cover your base standard of living, rent, light, gas, car insurance, phone bill, or mortgage instead, right? Now, that doesn't mean that depending on where you stay at, whichever city or state that you're in, that it will cover all of the luxuries in life that you wish you had. But if you was trying to get you a side hustle, if you was trying to start up a business on the side, if your base standard of living is covered by a source of income that doesn't require any effort from you, whatever effort you put into any hobby that turns into a profit, that effort pays for the luxuries in life. No, it's never too late. It is never too late. And that's why I tell you guys every day, start today. Start last week. Start the first time I told you guys what to do and how to do it. And then whenever you got free time, go and look at some of the older shows and take a look at what we got going on and see all of the information. There's probably like 1,000 plus videos on this channel that will tell you different ways to make it do what it do so that you can see that success. You have to do your own research and find out how this stuff benefits you, and then proactively take action to make yourself successful. Just sitting back doom scrolling on social media, whether it's YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, whatever, watching the hot chicks shake their behinds in tight, skimpy outfits, you get the dopamine hit, but when you log off of that phone, your life still sucks. When you start investing in yourself, you start investing in your future, you come to a point where you have less stress and less frustration because all the stuff that used to piss you off, you got people on your payroll that's doing it for you. Now you're doing stuff because you're bored, not because you have to. Now your thrill in life is going somewhere else and trying something new, not the frustration of life of having to get out of bed when you physically can't do it so that you can make ends meet, because if you don't get out of bed, you'll starve to death. There's a difference in the type of lifestyle that you could have. Apparently, I made a lot of money in gold in the last year or so. Congratulations. You should probably hold on to that. When the time does come, you can do one or two things. You can leverage the gold for because here's one of the highest points of getting a dividend paying brokerage account. If you leverage the gold as assets towards a cash loan, you can use the cash loan to buy assets, which separates the asset from the debt. But if the brokerage account is making more money than the monthly payment on that cash loan, you leverage gold that's doing nothing for you to get money that you didn't have to work for, so it's not a taxable income. Then you take the brokerage account that is a taxable income and you pay off the loan, which is a tax deduction. Now you've got stuff and you're paying off a debt, so you're not turning a profit on a brokerage account on paper, but you've got stuff. You give less to Uncle Sam. You put more into your pocket. You put more stuff into your possession that allows you to have more stuff to will off to your kids with, if you have any. So if you got gold, hold on to it. You can find the right they can issue a line of credit, leverage the portfolio, that portion of the portfolio towards capital that you can utilize. You can actually leverage the gold for cash to put into your brokerage account for dividends to pay off the leverage from the gold. So say you've got $100 or $200,000 worth of gold in a portfolio somewhere. You can leverage 50% of that, knowing that gold is on an incline. You can leverage 50% of that, put 100 grand into a brokerage account that's paying you 12% interest. Now you got $12,000 a year. And out of that $12,000 a year, you can put $6,000 a year on that loan, which means you actually turn a profit of $6,000 a year. That's taxable income. But you understand that if you're only making $6,000 a year and the tax line stops at 13.5 or 14.2, something like that, guess what they do with the difference? Don't worry about it. What's the difference between a mutual fund and an ETF? As I explained before, you have to go back and watch our mutual fund show so that you can evaluate what a mutual fund is and how it functions. And we've also covered ETFs on the show. But the acronym ETF is electronic transfer funds, which means the money to invest, if that helps with wrapping your mind around that. The mutual funds is money that is mutually shared amongst all of the people that invested into the same pot, and ETFs is electronic transfer funds, which only makes the money more accessible when you go to sell the stock and get the cash back. So again, I'm going to tell you, I've got a bunch of shows. So instead of using today's show when we're talking about self-improvement to talk about a show that I've already covered, I strongly encourage you to just go to my channel, type in mutual fund, and watch that show. And then make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel. That's what I would encourage for you to do. Now, that's all I got for you guys for tonight. We got a lot of stuff coming up. Tomorrow's Friday. We got Friday and Saturday. Then Sunday, we got questions and comments from the fans. So I encourage you guys to take the opportunity to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button on all the shows that we got coming up. I want to thank you guys. Special shout out to Steven, Michael, and Joe Jack. Special shout out to Claudia and FX Trader. You guys do a lot of providing a lot of light onto the show. Special shout out to Jamal O'Keefe. I've seen you guys on the show showing a lot of love, so I really appreciate that. I want to thank you guys for coming to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between, and I will see you guys tomorrow night.
Chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Potential knows no bounds.